Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Verum 1, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Verum Audio for providing the Verum 1 for a review. To greatly appreciate it. Verum Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Verum 1, this will set you back $350 from your bank account, and it has 82mm planar drivers, 8 ohms of impedance, 96 decibels sensitivity, and it weighs 470 grams. The Verum 1 comes in a postal box bubble wrapped. There's absolutely nothing to unbox other than the headphone and its included cable. So the Verum 1 is very well built and extremely beautiful to look at. You can get it in a couple of different color variations. This is the Babinga wood. It's just absolutely gorgeous. All metal headband and yokes, and a leatherish head strap, leatherish pads, and then those gorgeous Babinga wood cups, and some gold on the outside. Very well built, feels very durable, and has a unique design. I absolutely love the look of them. Up top here you have this little swivel mechanism that kind of moves the headband around so you can angle it. And then to extend or to lower your headphone strap, you just undo your little knob here on the end, and then you move up the notches. And on the sliders here, you can see that the sliders have a little bit of a groove in them, and you just move it around, get it in place, and do it to the other side and hold it. And then it's permanently in that position, and you don't have to adjust it every time you put it on your head, which is nice. On the front here, you have 3.5s for the cable. And then you have these nice big pads. I did find that the pads on the inside are big enough for my ears, but if you have rather large ears, they may not fit you very well. These pads aren't huge, but they're not small either. They're just big enough for my ears. The cable that comes with the Verum 1 is okay. You have these 90-degree angled inputs into the headphone itself. Red is for right, black is for left. And then it terminates into a chunky 3.5. I do like this termination though. It has like this kind of rolled middle so you can put your fingers around it and pull it. Cable is flat, and it's an okay cable, nothing too special, but it does its job. When you connect it to the headphone, I find that the look is cool, but how they come down kind of messed with this part of my neck, shoulder area, and I didn't really care for that. I wish that they had extended out a little bit more and the cable had kind of come out a little bit more. But the nice thing is they are 3.5 input into the headphone, and so you can change out cables very easily. The Verum 1 is kind of source picky. Now, everything will drive it. I had no issues using dongles, DAPs, and desktop to drive the Verum 1. In fact, everything I have was able to get it to volume and get it fairly loud. But not everything sounded good. Dongles weren't the best with the Verum 1, but it's doable if you are on the go and you just kind of want to listen to your Verum 1s. But it wouldn't be my go-to. DAPs were better, especially if you ran it balanced. But again, you still weren't getting the full potential. I found that the Verum 1 sounded best off of desktop. And then not everything played well with it. It kind of is odd being 8 ohms and 96 decibels of sensitivity. It's got some kind of struggles on some gear. Some things drove it really well, and then others was kind of like, it's not bad sounding, but. And so you just have to kind of experiment and find the ones that you like. The ones that I preferred it on were the Aune S9C Pro and S17 Pro, and also the Mytek Liberty DAC 2 and the Mytek Liberty HPA. I found that those were very good pairings. Other things sounded well with it, but my favorites were the Aune and the Mytek. So the Verum ones, how do they sound? So I find that the Verum 1 is a very pleasant sounding headphone, and it has a very clean, refined sound. The bass of the Verum 1 extends nicely. It doesn't have a whole lot of sub bass presence, but there's a little bit there, and when it's called upon, it'll give you a little bit of rumble and grumble. Mid bass has a little bit more impact and slam to it, and the upper bass will give you a little bit of warmth and a little bit of impact, but not a whole lot. I find that the Verum 1 focuses more on the quality than the quantity. It gives enough impact and slam, but doesn't really have a lot of authority and a lot of power to drive things home, but it gives you enough to keep the toes tapping and to keep the arms flailing as an air drummer. The bass of the Verum 1 has very nice tonality to it. It's very accurate and true to the instruments and to the vocalists and to everything that resides down in the lower into the bass regions. And I find that it has a very fun and engaging listen, but it doesn't really have that authoritative punch and slam. It's more about the quality. You get really good details and exceptional resolution to it, and it does a very good job of spacing out things and giving you nice layers and giving you good separation and just kind of allowing you to track everything there. And then the mids. The mids have a nice naturalism and an emotional connection. And it's like it's taking the mids and putting them into a spotlight. And that's a good thing because the majority of what we hear is in the mids. And so the Verum 1 does a very good job of portraying what we hear on a regular basis. And it puts it in the spotlight, and it makes it kind of this personal concert. And I find that the mids have a very nice natural approach to things and very emotional, and you can really just kind of feel the music and connect with the music. Instruments have very nice tone and timbre, and they sound very realistic, and vocalists have this just connection and just kind of sound like they're giving you this personal concert. And the naturalism of instruments sound very realistic and true. There's nice space, good air, and there's good details and resolution. The upper mids are slightly more forward than the rest of the mids, and I find that the upper mids at times can be borderline a little too much, but they never cross over into the fatigue mode or too much elevation, too energetic or anything like that, but they can be at times just on the verge. And then the treble. The lower treble has a little bit of presence just like the upper mids have, and at times can be just on the verge, but they never go into too much mode. They extend nicely, and there's good air, there's good separation, and there's good space in the treble. Tone and timbre is very nice, and it sounds very natural, and everything just sounds accurate. The one thing about the treble is it is a little bit softened and a little bit rolled, so you don't get that extra bite and edge and crispness, and at times you don't get the fatigue, which is nice, but at times you kind of wish that you had just a little bit of that to sound a little bit more natural. But it is a little bit on the more softer, non-fatiguing side. The Verum 1 soundstage is very nice. I was rather impressed by the soundstage, and this is where you will really notice differences in source gear. If it's not being driven properly, the soundstage is going to sound very small, cramped, but when driven properly, the soundstage is going to open up and you're going to get nice air and good space, and it's going to reveal the differences in venue sizes. On gear that isn't as powerful and isn't pushing the Verum 1 properly, the soundstage will always sound small and very, very compressed. I found that the stage of the Verum 1 does a good job of portraying differences in venues. You can tell whether or not it's small, medium, large, or grand sizing. And it does a nice job with depth. You can really read into the stage. And there's nice layering. And overall, I find that it does a good separation with instruments and vocalists. And as I said before, the center image is very nice and it focuses on the instruments and the vocalists. And you just get this feeling that you're there. It just does a really good job of putting you in the moment and highlighting the mids and putting everything else around you, and you just kind of feel like you're in the moment. Things track across the stage very well, and you can track them from right to left, left to right, and they just move along. There's no jittering, stuttering, or anything of the sort. And then in depth, you can tell where things are, how they layer, and how they position and they move. If things track across the stage, it does a very good job. And you can, it's right there, it's right there, it's right there. It's pretty close to being spot on, accurate. Tone and timbre is very good with the Verum 1. I find this very natural and accurate, and everything sounds realistic and lifelike. You can tell different instruments from each other, and you can track instruments throughout the mix. And it does a really good job of giving a natural presentation of instruments and vocalists. And then detail retrieval is very good, and it does a nice job with resolving. I was very impressed with how much I was getting out of a track and how well it was resolving and how revealing it was. If you have a lot of tracks that aren't very well recorded and mastered, the Verum 1 is definitely going to tell you that. And I found that the Verum 1 does a good job of just giving you the information without force feeding it. It's going to reveal it to you, and if it's a bad source, you're going to know it, or a bad track, you're going to know it. And if it's good, you're going to be really rewarded with a very pleasurable track to listen to. So, the Verum 1, yeah, I like it, and I'm really impressed at it. And as I was listening to it, I constantly was asking myself, how is this thing only $350? But considering that it's only $350, how does it compare to a headphone that's planar? That's $350. And that is the Hifiman Sundara. Now, the Hifiman Sundara is definitely not built as nice. It is not as near as pretty of a headphone. It's not near as comfortable. And I don't mind the comfort of the Sundara, but the Verum 1 is just way better. And plus, it just looks better. The Sundara sound is a little bit different than the Verum 1. It is a little bit more forward and a little bit more aggressive in the upper, mids, and lower treble region, and it definitely has more upper treble presence. And it will be a more fatiguing listen. The Sundara does not have as wide of a stage as the Verum 1. It is a little bit on the small side, and it doesn't do as good a job with depth, but it is pretty good with layering, and detail retrieval is pretty similar. Resolution-wise is better on the Verum, as I find that the Sundara can be a little bit harsh, glassy, and glary at times. And then, as I was listening to the Verum 1, I was like, this sounds like something that's really expensive. What is it that this reminds me of? And I got thinking about it, and I happened to be listening to my favorite headphone and my current reference headphone, and I was like, they have similar presentations. Now, before you go, oh boy, Dave's going to be comparing it to a $4,500 headphone. I'm not going to say that it is better than an LCD-5. Okay, now the LCD-5 definitely is better than the Verum 1, but the LCD-5 has a similar presentation to the Verum 1. So if you've heard an LCD-5 and you're looking for something a little bit cheaper, say about $350, the Verum 1 has a similar type of presentation. Now the Verum 1 is going to be a little bit more in the upper, mids, and treble region. It's a little bit more forward. It doesn't have as clean and clear mids, and it's not as well detailed and resolving and also it's not as linear sounding. So the LCD-5 is better, it definitely is better, but presentation wise is somewhat similar, especially in the sound stage. So the Verum 1, yeah, I like this a lot. And as I said earlier, as I was listening to it, I was like, how's this only 350 bucks? This is fantastic at $350. It's a fantastic value, and I'm really surprised at how well it sounds and how well it performs. It is source picky, and it definitely will help you to clean out and upgrade your music library. But for what it does and what it offers, this thing is phenomenal at 350 bucks. I'm so surprised at this, and I'm glad that I got an opportunity to listen to it. If you want a planar that is comfortable, gorgeous to look at, and sounds fantastic, I would check out the Verum 1. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links and notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information down there regarding how you can contact channel, follow channel, support channel, all that kind of stuff is listed down below. Speaking of contacting the channel and supporting the channel, if you're interested in supporting the channel, I would greatly appreciate if you would check out Patreon and YouTube memberships. If you want to give one-time gifts, there's PayPal and Venmo options. Also, you can buy me a coffee. I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. It's much appreciate all that you give to the channel. Thank you very much. If you're interested in supporting the channel, all funds given to the channel do go back into the channel. And also, you can get access to my private Discord server and all kinds of other benefits. So check out those links if you're interested in supporting the channel. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music and that honesty is the best policy.